Marcel for your amazing singing. Thank you, all of you, for being here. I know we're competing with Sandra Day O'Connor down the street, so it's really nice that you decided to come here to celebrate Human Rights Day with us. Did you know that Human Rights Day was first declared by the United Nations General Assembly in 1950? It was declared to promote the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a standard for all peoples and nations to strive to achieve. 43 years later, the United Nations decided that perhaps declaring a day wasn't quite enough. So they issued a mandate for human rights. They really meant it this time. And in the mandate in 1993, 20 years ago, they declared that the full and equal participation of women in all aspects of political, economic, civic, and cultural life, and the eradication of all forms of discrimination on the basis of sex were priority objectives of the international community. Yeah, right. As we know, 20 years later, the promise of this mandate remains far from fulfilled. Around the world, discriminatory laws and practices continue to force millions of women into poverty, deny them access to education and health care, and subject so many to really terrible cruelty and violence. And under the circumstances, one might legitimately ask, what exactly do we celebrate? And I would say we celebrate the sources of our inspiration to continue to work for a better world. We celebrate departed heroes like Nelson Mandela and Sunila Abesekera. We celebrate brave women in Botswana who challenged the tribal law that prohibited them from inheriting property. And we celebrate the amazing Botswana Appellate Court that struck down that law in September of 2013 on grounds of basic human rights. We celebrate the rule of law as a means for peaceful social change. We celebrate the remarkable lawyers that made the victory in Botswana possible. We celebrate our amazing honorees this evening, Roma, Shalini, and Robin, who remind us that human rights work knows no borders, that gender equity and justice are essential to fighting poverty and disease, as well as to promoting sustainability and economic development. And as we celebrate their work, we recommit ourselves to this cause, pledging our hearts and our minds and our resources to do what each of us can to bend that arc of history a little bit closer to justice. And yet, there are so many with so much to offer who care about these issues, who are not engaged in challenging the injustice that persists in the world. At the same time, so many organizations working on the front lines of this struggle never have enough of the skills and the resources that they need. This must change. IANGEL is part of that change. Imagine with me for a minute that every lawyer that wanted to volunteer his or her skills to work on the cause of gender equity could be effectively enlisted and engaged in that cause. Imagine an army of new pro bono lawyers working with organizations and individuals around the world to promote women's rights. And imagine that those organizations already working on those issues had all the talent and skill and resources that they needed to carry on their important work. Imagine it with me and help IANGEL make it so. IANGEL is an international collaboration of lawyers dedicated to harnessing the power of pro bono legal resources and connecting it to the individuals and the organizations working to defend and protect the rights and dignity of women and girls locally, nationally, and around the world. Our projects include partnering with equal rights advocates on the project to advise formerly incarcerated women on their legal rights to help them re-enter the workforce and become productive members of society. We're also partnering with the Hague Domestic Violence Project and its amazing director, Suda Shetty, we'll hear from later on, to defend the rights of victims of domestic violence in international custody disputes. And we're also partnering with the Bangladesh National Women Lawyers Association on its efforts to reform the laws in that country that prohibit Hindu women from owning or inheriting property, working a terrible injustice on those women. The Bangladesh National Women Lawyers Association have provided IANGEL with a film that they made to illustrate the terrible injustice of those laws and the need to reform them. And in honor of this night and